Happy 4th.
Happy 4th for those of my audience in the United States. And I know that the Canadian ones did their own July 1. And happy Monday to everybody else. This is Edwin Debery, the Chief Happiness Officer. Thank you all for joining us today. And I hope very much, again, for those audience in the United States, have a very safe and fun celebration as you go out today. All right. Well, today, folks, being the 4th of July, and like I just mentioned, Canadians did their July 1, and so that's a large group of people celebrating independence. So I decided to focus today my subject for the happiness tip for the week, for the Happy Monday, on freedom and happiness. Now, just even the sound of those two things together already shows that they are very, very related. They are very, very correlated. And so I started to dig in a little bit, why freedom and happiness, why they come so close together, and what can you do to increase your level of freedom and thereby increase your level of happiness. So let's dig a little bit again, since we're kind of like 4th of July. I say, okay, well, let me see, what does the forefathers have to do with this, Well, the forefathers, and then this is my U.S. audience now, and I think everybody can benefit from this because it just makes sense, okay? The forefathers believed that it was one of at least 3 fundamental rights, okay? And I'm talking about freedom now. This is their understanding of freedom. Okay, they believe that freedom is at least one of at least 3 fundamental rights, along with life and the pursuit of happiness. So that is freedom, life, and the pursuit of happiness. So for me, I want to kind of take the equation to be kind of very simple, that if you add freedom and happiness, then you really have life. Now, that's me saying that, okay? But I think you can kind of see how that would happen. When you have freedom, and then it increases your happiness, and then naturally you are alive. I was once told, my grandmom, and she lived to the age of 102. She used to tell me in a way that a life that is lived in fear is a life that is half lived. So we have to try to live our life and eliminate as much of the fear as possible, and that's, I think, what freedom, really does. So that's what the forefathers had to say about freedom. That's how high they rank it, very close. It's like life itself and the pursuit of happiness. That's freedom. Now, let's see, what does the researchers have to say about happiness? Because, again, one of the great things that we are now in the time that we live is there's a body of research that's really looking into happiness and taking it very seriously, because we know, folks, if humanity is going to last, we have to increase the level of happiness in the world. Okay, and you guys have heard me say this before. Happy people don't go kill other people. It just doesn't happen. And so if we're going to reduce the killings, we have to increase the level of happiness in this world. Okay, so let's look at what researchers have to say, and then we're going to talk about what can you do, to increase your level of happiness and by increasing your freedom. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is the correlation. Okay, there is a huge correlation. These are the researchers with the National Opinion Research Center. Okay, this is a very legitimate body, and they find out that people who felt free were about 18 percentage points more likely than others to say that they were very happy. 18 percentage points, folks, that's a lot. So I want to be on that end, of freedom. And because, again, that's like a built-in, foundation for your own happiness. And so if you take freedom and you take happiness, voila, you are living life, okay? So let's see what actual research does. Now, some of you know this, maybe most of you did not know, But when I was going through college, I actually worked in a nursing home. I know that people don't want it to be called nursing home these days, but it was a nursing home. People came there and they stayed there until they die, and they try to give them the best treatment as possible. Okay, but there was a famous 1976 experiment by psychologists in Connecticut. They gave residents on one floor of a nursing home the freedom to decide which night of the week will be movie nights. Folks, that's very simple. Okay, very simple stuff, right? Okay, and they gave them which night of the week will be movie night, as well as the freedom to choose and care for the plants on their floor. So they had that freedom to choose and care for that. On another floor of the same nursing home, folks, residents did not receive these choices and responsibility. They didn't have it. The first group of residents, no healthier or happier than the second when the experiment began, quickly showed greater alertness, more activity, and better mood. A year and a half later, they were still doing better and even dying at half the rate of the resident on the other floor. Folks, how powerful is that? Freedom and happiness can extend your life. Okay, freedom. So let's agree that freedom plays a huge role in our happiness. No question about it. In our mood, in our activity, in our alertness, and all of those stuff. So how do you increase your own freedom? Well, first of all, folks, you have to just acknowledge it, that it does play a role, and you have a choice. One of the things that I find out sometimes when people are not happy, they quickly say, oh, I don't have a choice in this, I don't have a choice in that, I don't have a choice in that, and they just feel like they don't have no choice at all. Well, when all your choices are gone, so is your freedom. So the rule number one, those of you that have the 10 ways to be happy card, if you notice, the first thing I said is that you need to decide to be happy. That's a decision. In other words, happiness is a choice. And choice is the fundamental of freedom. Now, some of you are going to quickly say, well, if I have a better job, I will be freer. Well, let's break that down, folks. Let's start with those of you that are self-employed. Folks, you have to understand that when you are self-employed, that means you control your own time, and you get to determine your income, you get to determine what you do, and there's a lot of freedom that comes with that. But also with that kind of freedom comes responsibility. In other words, you have to perform, you have to deliver results. And whether that result happens in fewer hours or a lot more hours, the person on the receiving end doesn't really care. They just want to make sure you deliver results. And so you can't say, oh, I want to go into business for myself so I can wake up when I want and go to bed when I want and do whatever I want. Well, folks, if that's not part of your promise to your client, that's not going to work. Or let's even say you are an employee. An employer, folks, listen to this very carefully now, because the study is very clear. If your employee have free, at least if they feel free, okay, the perception is also very crucial. If your employee feel free, they're going to be happier. And if they are happier, they're going to produce better results. And your customers are going to be happier, and your bottom line are going to be happier. So if you're an employer, if you're the owner of a business employing other people, you want to listen to this also. Give your employee freedom. Let them choose when they come to work. Let them choose when they leave work. Let them choose the project they work on to the best of their ability and get the whole system going. Let them choose, folks, when they go on break. let them have more choices. Now, again, just like I said with the self-employed, with freedom also comes responsibility. If you're an employee that's fortunate to work in an environment with freedom, you need to deliver results. You can't just say because the employer say, oh, I'm free to come when I want and leave when I want, and then you come late to appointments or you leave early when people are still expecting you to be there. That's not going to work. So you got to accept the responsibility that comes with that freedom. And when that's balanced, when freedom is balanced with responsibility, folks, people excel. People trust you. People have confidence in you. You have confidence in yourself. Customers know they can count on you to be there when you say you're going to be there. Folks, everybody is happier. So that's the kind of balance, folks, that we should seek, whether you are a self-employed or you are employed for somebody else. Folks, I'm telling you, if you are employed for somebody else and you treat your work like you are self-employed, you're going to excel. And the employer is going to have more respect for you because they can go home and have a good night's sleep, or they can go about their own other business because they know, hey, Paul, Joanne, once you give them work to do, you don't ever have to worry about them. They get it done. They take responsibility for that work. And as long as you do that, you will continue to be free. It's really that simple. Another kind of freedom, folks, you want to look at is freedom from anger. It's freedom from hate. It's freedom from comparison. It's freedom from depression. Folks, I can go on and on. These are individual things you have 100% control over. If you can be free from hating other people, if you can be free from anger, folks, my grandma, again, once told me that if you're angry about something, whether you're angry about somebody else or you're angry about what happened, it's like you are taking poison and then you are praying for that other person to die. That's not going to work. You're going to die before that person. That's what anger does. So release yourself, free yourself from anger. Folks, free yourself from anything that hinders your freedom. Comparison, don't compare yourself with other people. You don't know what they are going through. And so, folks, if you enhance your freedom, and you can do a little research, what makes you free? Taking a walk in the middle of work day, that makes you free. Negotiate with your employer. If they know that increases your productivity, they will let you do it. And yes, folks, with freedom comes responsibility, and with freedom increase your level of happiness. And if you add freedom to happiness, you have life to the fullest. So that's what we have today, freedom and happiness. And I hope you enjoy it. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this. Thank you.